So, welcome, everybody. Today, we're going to be talking about how to ground yourself and some grounding techniques and habits. So, a big piece of the trauma healing world that I talk about is I use grounding as my a core word in terms of how to establish a foundation in terms of how to heal our nervous systems. But a lot of times people think grounding, it's like bare feet on the grass type of grounding. But this is beyond that specific thing. It's really about centering you and bringing you into the moment. So when I talk about grounding techniques, it's like when we experience dysregulation and when we experience trauma, what happens is that our minds and bodies tend to go somewhere else. We end up, stuck in the past or stuck in the future, or we focus on the future. We don't want to feel what we're feeling right here in this moment. So what we want to do is practice being in the moment so that when we do get dysregulated and when we do get triggered and when we do experience trauma in the future, we're able to manage it a little bit easier. So if you're someone that has experienced panic attacks, anxiety attacks, anything like that, or like you're that person that you lose patience right away, you blow up right away, you just have that hard time, or you outburst and cry, you don't know how to manage your emotions, then this call is definitely for you. Because overwhelm, or if you're somebody that you're familiar, like I feel like my body is flooded with overwhelm and I feel a lot of emotions all the time. So like overwhelm is a combination of about 27 different emotions. So yeah, that's a lot for the nervous system to handle. So what we want to talk about is how do we help heal the nervous system, and grounding techniques are really a fantastic place to start that. So if you're somebody that has digestive issues, if you have heart issues, if you have immune function issues, if you have skin issues, grounding techniques and helping heal your nervous system is a fantastic way to help you start lining up the dominoes, in my opinion, and in my humble opinion, because I've been sick in different parts of my body have been sick, different systems of my body have been sick. And a lot of times when we get sick, you're like, okay, all hands on deck, I got to fix my digestion, and then all hands on deck, I got to fix my immune system, and all hands on deck, I got to fix my lymphatic system, whatever. So what we want to do is, for me, the nervous system is the top of the hierarchy, is the top of what we want to be able to heal so that we can ultimately get back into our bodies and feel safer and connected and loved and all the wonderful things that we want to feel and live the life that you want to live, right? So the reality is the world's a busy place and it's full of distractions, and it's very easy to feel overwhelmed, and it's very easy to feel stuck and distracted and whatever word I'm looking for. So it just, like, a lot of times people are looking for answers and they don't know where to start. So in my humble opinion, the nervous system is a great place to start because it connects all of the systems, all 11 organ systems together. So it's more of that holistic approach. But like I said, what does it mean to actually ground yourself? It means to bring you into the present moment. Okay. It's about balancing you physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It's about helping you feel stable. A lot of times, when people feel dysregulated, it's because they're stuck in this thing. They're stuck in their head, right? And you've spent, when you experience trauma, you spent your whole life avoiding what's you're feeling from the neck down. So what happens is that there's a disconnect, and so it's like, how can I use my head to solve this problem? Right? But a lot of times when we experience dysregulation, it's not our head that's going to solve the problem, it's our body, right? And so there's this disconnect, and that's why I believe healing and really tapping into the autonomic nervous system specifically will help you feel more grounded and basically help you build stress resilience, help you manage your anxiety attacks, or the worry or the disconnection that you might feel on your day-to-day basis. So without further ado, let's get right into it on how to ground yourself quickly. So I have 5 different techniques that you can use. And so they may be things, and this is the reality, is that you may already be doing these things, right? You don't even know you're doing it, but you're doing it because it's what's natural to you. And oftentimes, like when you feel dysregulated, or when you feel anxious or angry or shame or whatever, there's something that you do to calm your nervous system or to soothe yourself, right? So one of the things that you can do is hold an object in your hand. And so if you've never heard of the term homunculus, homunculus is basically, it's how your brain sees your body, and it's basically your head, your hands, your feet, and your genitals are humongous. And it's because you have so many neuroreceptors in these areas. So holding an object in your hands is a fantastic way for you to use pressure, or it could be the texture, or it could be the heat, depending on whatever object you choose. It's a sensory object that you're using to help you come into this moment and distract yourself, I guess, in a way, from what you're feeling. So it could be, like if you look at around you right now and you pick up, like I have a water bottle, I have a phone, I have a pencil, I have this like canvas bag. So if you pick up and you just feel the textures of these different things, you're going to notice different, it makes you feel different things. So if you just close your eyes and you just feel this, I'm like, oh, I like soft, but it's a little bit cold. And then versus I pick up my teacup and I touch this, it's metallic. So this feels different than this. Which one feels safer, right? Which one feels better in my nervous system? By holding this in your hand, there's a sense, you have these awesome neuroreceptors in your hands, and what it's telling your brain, does it help me feel safer or does it actually stress me out even more? So what happens is that to help you ground yourself, you need to figure out, like some people have like worry stones or palm stones. So they hold that smooth stone, and I have a couple clients that have them, and they just rub that, and just that texture feels amazing, and it helps them come into the moment, and it just soothes the autonomic nervous system, which is phenomenal. I actually have I went to a conference, and I actually have a Naboso keychain holder thing that basically it's the shape of a foot. And the texture of, anybody knows Naboso, it's a phenomenal technology that allows you to, it has a little bit of texture, and it's the way it activates the brain. And so basically, like I tend to rub that, and it helps bring me into the moment. And again, the sensory receptors in your hand, you have a lot of sensory receptors in your hands. So just by using whatever, so if you use, pens or rocks or water bottles or something hot, something cold, and you squeeze a ball, there's so many like fidget toys now, like a lot of people play with their hands. Yeah, so there's spiky balls, things that are round, so you get to play with it and whatnot. So you can do it on the top and the bottom of your hands, and often these things are a fantastic way to help you feel grounded, right? So if you are somebody that does struggle with anxiety, then like, do you use something that you can put in your hand, right, that can help you be in the moment? It's really that simple. Okay. So then the thing too is, when you're holding in your hand, something that you can do is like, actually, like, what's the mental story that you're telling yourself? Like, are you, like, worried about the future? Are you worried about the past? But can this object help you be in the here and now, and describe like what you're actually feeling? Or you can actually, this is the shape, and what's the texture, what the sensations are you feeling in your body when you hold it and when you don't. So this allows you to hold the space for whatever is showing up in your body. Cool. Does that make sense? So your hands are super powerful. So it's like I know some of you are animal people, so like petting an animal can calm you. So I know that's why I have so many animals. So I have like so many bunnies now, because they're just soft, right? And people get cats and dogs and all that kind of stuff, and it's just different textures. And people, when they feel out of sorts, they, pet their animal. So it could be just holding the animal. So that's one technique. The second technique is, you've probably heard this one before, especially when it comes to anxiety, is the 5-4-3-2-1 technique. So this one's a fantastic grounding one, again, to help you come into the moment, because it allows you to bring into your sensations. So what's important to notice with all 5 of these, they're all sensory based. Okay. So whatever you're feeling dysregulated, or whenever you're feeling stuck in your body, the way to get unstuck, okay, A, is to acknowledge that you're going too fast, and B, you don't have the right sensory input coming into your body to help you feel safe. Okay. So this is why it's super important for you to discover, like, what is my sensory hierarchy? Like, do I like pressure? Do I like heat? Do I like cold? Do I like sound? Do I like color, light, like how much light I need to get into my eyes. So there are different sensations in our body. So the 5 4 3 2 1 technique allows you to dive into all of them. So basically, five, like, does everyone know what I'm talking about with the 5 4 3 2 1 technique? So basically, five is you describe five things that you can see. Look around, what can you see? And four is, so it depends on, like, so everybody has a different one, right? So depending on your order. So I just, like, for me, it's like visual is the top. So it's like, what's the easier things that you can do, right? So describe things that you can, what do you see around you? And then four, describe four things that you can feel, right? That could be another one if you're a texture person. Three things that you can hear. Okay, three things that you can smell, or two things that you can smell, and one thing that you can taste, for example. So the problem is when you're in it, you're not going to remember, what do I do now? Which one do I have to do? I do sound first and then sight and then smell and then taste? So don't get caught up on that. The idea is if you're just focusing on, like, I'm going to name, water bottle, phone, pencil, case, or whatever, like, you're just naming things around you. Like, what can I see? What can I actually feel? So whatever comes to you is good. And the more you practice this, when you're in it, when you get triggered, when you're in it, it'll come to you, because that's the idea, is we want to create those neural pathways to help you do that. Okay, cool. Number three, you phone a friend. Okay, it's all about co-regulation. I think I've said this in every single one of these talks. It's who can you trust in the situation, or who do you feel safe with in the situation? So a lot of times when you feel dysregulated, you, like, if you feel shame versus anger, you may not phone the same friend, so, or same family member, right? So the idea is, we have different people in our circle. So who's that person that you're going to entrust yourself with to help you do that, right? And so that's what we want to be able to do is work. And sometimes we don't have that person. Like, that's the reality, is sometimes we don't have somebody to phone. So that's why they have the helplines available. Like, you hear that the mental health helplines, there is somebody available now. And like, I saw this one guy on social media is phenomenal. He's like, he actually posts his cell phone, and you can phone him and just tell him what's going on in your day. Like, he sets himself up for people to do that. And I think that's absolutely wonderful that, you can do that. Same thing with me on I often invite people on Instagram to, like, DM me, whatever's going on. And some people will just tell me what's going on, and use voice. That's the frustrating thing on Instagram, is you only get a minute. So I'm like, I gotta talk fast. But the idea is, it's being able to share, whatever you need to do. So if you trust me, or if you find somebody, you're like, yeah, that's somebody that is willing to listen. There are people out there that are willing to do that. So if there's a community, a church community, AA, all that type of stuff. There are different communities out there. You just need to figure out one that resonates with you, that you can feel safe with. Okay. Number four is what we talked about last week, and it was all based on breath work. So your breath has a lot to do with, it's a portal in terms of it's a portal to your nervous system. So paying attention to your breathing. So notice when you breathe, how do you breathe when you're anxious versus when you feel anger versus when you feel shame versus when you feel joy versus when you feel different emotions? It shifts. They all shift. There's a different pattern. A lot of people are just like, it's fast and shallow, or deep and slow and deep. No, there's much more variety to that. And that's why there's not just like one breathing drill. And that's why a lot of people get overwhelmed in their nervous systems, because they're like, which one do I do? And this is why we practice different breathing drills, because breathing has a direct impact onto your vagus nerve. Breathing has a direct impact into the parasympathetic nervous system, and it allows you to feel sensations differently, or tune in interoceptively as to what's going on. And that's really the key, is being able to understand, like, what sensations am I actually feeling in my body, and understand that you've lived a life not allowing yourself to feel, because if you feel, it hurts. If you feel, it sucks. Like, who wants to feel pain? Like, no. And so your body's done a fantastic job protecting you of that, but it comes at a price. It takes a toll on you mentally. because it's, you know, you're holding that beach ball underwater for so long, and it's just like, I can't hold it anymore. So your body then just, it hurts because you've been holding on and not able to express. So that's why breathing is just a fantastic way to allow you to do that. And then number 5 is again it's based on the sensory input. So it's finding what other figuring out what your sensory hierarchy is. So knowing, okay, what sound do I like? Right? So when I feel blank, what's the tone that I like? What's the frequency that I like? So it could be from you, like it could be a humming, like the chakra healing sounds or the 6 healing sounds. These are things that I share often. It could be the solfeggio, I think is how you say it, different frequencies. There's binaural beats. So there's all these different sounds. For instance, and the reason I choose sound is because sound can shift your nervous system. One of the fastest, and one of the fastest sensory sensations or sensory inputs that can shift your nervous system the quickest, right? The other one is smell. What am I smelling? So like if you're an essential oil person, this is super easy that you can, when you smell lavender, it's going to be different than frankincense, right? It's a difference when you feel like when you smell a wood versus a flower versus a citrus versus any, you know, whatever oils that you like. Each of them have a different frequency. So what we want to do is really tune into what sensation do I need to feel safe in this moment? Do I need to, you know, do I need heat? So for me, a lot of times, what I didn't know for me personally is that like a big reason I hate winter is because I'm always cold. But I didn't understand why I was always cold. I was always cold because I was always stressed. My stress bucket was full. So it was my body's way of saying, yo, slow down, you're too tired. So for me, when I get cold, I know I'm fatigued. That's fatigue speaking up, saying, you're not listening to me. You're moving too fast. I need you to slow down and warm back up again. So that's why for me, I love heat. So I have my electric heat warmers. I have a portable heater. I have, you know, my heating pads. I'll put them on me to allow me to heat back up and go from there. For you, it could be watching certain things, so going into nature or watching a funny video. So your eyes, neural hierarchy wise, are at the top. So what you look at does matter. So, you know, scrolling through some, you know, on your phone through a happy album, or, you know, like if you're a business person, looking through past testimonials, you know, watching funny videos, any of that sort of thing. Or if you like to move, if you're that person that like, I like to move my body. So dancing, right? Again, so just however you want to move, or doing yoga, or even temperature, taking a cold shower or a warm shower. So again, it depends on what you want, but really understanding what your sensory input is. Okay. Does that sound good? So these are the 5 things that we want to have in place before you experience your next trigger. So you want to practice these things before you get triggered again. That's the idea. Because once you get triggered, you're not going to remember any of this. That's the reality, because that's just not how the brain works. Like when you get triggered, it's all hands on deck, and I go into go mode. I'm in a fight or flight state, or I'm in immobilized state, and I have no more blood in my brain, so I can't even think about what's going on, because everything is in here just trying to keep me alive, right? So that's why we practice these things. Okay. So, yeah, that's it. So now what I want to do is get into, what are some daily habits to help you stay grounded? So again, these are things that you may already know, you've probably heard of, but the idea is, again, what are things, so like if you just titled a piece of paper or on your phone in your notes section, and you just wrote down, what are actions or what are activities or behaviors or people, places, things that help me stay out of my head? What are things that you do or experience that allow you to get out of your head? Okay, because the big problem is that in the real world, why people are dysregulated all the time is because we're stuck in our heads. Okay, so the first daily habit is find activities that allow you to get out of your head. So what activities can you slow down and allow you to just be in the moment? So in other words, how do you play every day? Okay, so play is a place where we get out of our heads and we just do the thing. We lose track of time, right? So what did you know, and I talked about the inner child, and the inner child talk that I had a few weeks ago. We talked about different things. So a lot of people are like, I don't know what I do I don't know how to have fun anymore. It's been a minute, right? And I get that. And that's okay. But the idea is we want to figure out, like, you just, it's a matter of, we have to bring awareness to, okay, I don't have fun. Well, I don't have fun because I'm not feeling safe enough to do so. So what can we do to start introducing that? So if it's playing cards or, playing a game on your phone, if you had to, I would prefer it not be on a phone, but whatever, if whatever it is, that whatever sensation that you need to feel for allow you to lose track of time, if it's, looking at art, walking museums or going to going walking this, I have a client that will go to like Target and just walk the whatever, walk the aisles, I guess you can say, just to look at people and look at stuff, and that's it, right? And that's fantastic, and that's what allows her to slow down and be in the moment and get out of her head, and that's great. So everybody's going to be a little bit different, so it's just important for you to be aware of like, where do I need to go? Like for me, nature does that a lot, but I can't always get to nature, so sometimes I'll need to look at pictures of nature, and that's why I have all these videos of like me walking on the beach, because that's a sensation that I really enjoy, and it makes me feel good. So that allows me to get out of my head. Okay. Does that make sense? Yeah. Number 2, take deep breaths. Okay. So last week, again, if you haven't seen that talk, I talked about 6 different breathing drills that can help resonate with your nervous system. So what's important to understand is that breath work seems to be very popular. It's a very popular topic now. It's almost it's very trendy to talk about breath work. But the issue that I'm seeing is that people don't know which breathing drill to do, right? Because they haven't really brought awareness. They're like, I know I need to breathe. Same thing, like, I know I need to drink water, or I know I need to eat well, but I don't know which breathing drill I need to do for me. And so that's where, like last week, I went through 5 different ones to see how it felt in your own body. And that's really important for you to understand, is that different breathing drills will evoke a different feeling and a different sensation of safety in your body. So when I say take a deep breath, I need you to understand, like, does 4-4-4-4 feel the same as 4-7-8 for you? Or does it feel the same as a wave breathing? Or does it feel different than a 4-2-1 breathing? Right? So everybody's going to be a little different. So you need to know what resonates with you. Like I have a client who loves 5-5-5-7. She's like, that's the tempo I like, and it helps me get into that safe place in my body. Great. She knows that now, and then that's where she can use. So that's where she practices that one. Alternate nostril breathing. Some people love that because it's that bilateral stimulation. Some other people I know, nope, it's a trigger because they have deviated septums. So because somebody said a specific drill is supposed to be good for you and it doesn't resonate with you yet, that's okay. Don't feel like there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. Okay. It's nothing. It's just something that you can bring awareness to. Like, that's not resonating with me, but this one will. So let's focus on the ones that do resonate with you. Number 3 is meditation. So meditation is really hard for those people who are stuck in the red zone or the dorsal zone, or this immobilized state. So what I mean by that is people who basically feel depressed or feel really heavy emotions that tend to be stuck in their body, like shame or grief. Those are really big ones that, though it's probably easier for those people because they don't want to move their bodies too much. So allowing you to meditate, and again, a lot of people are like, I can't meditate, I can't get out of my head. So there's different ways to meditate, right? Different sounds to do it to. You can move your body to it. It's whatever works with you. So so in my mentorship, we've been talking about, there's a gentleman who does rhythmical movements. So it's doing the same movement just over and over again. And that can be a meditation as well. It's just that repetition. So what I'm looking for meditation, depending on where you're at, it's allowing space for you to A, get out of your mind, but B, what's that repetition of just feeling safe? What allows you to, what kind of activity do you need to do to help you feel safe in your body? Okay. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. Number 4 is the power of your self-talk, or paying attention to your self-talk. Like, what are you saying to yourself on a day-to-day basis? Like, do you ever catch yourself, like, you look in the mirror and you're like, ooh, right? Like, so like I got on this Zoom call, and right away, and I'm like, ooh, I don't want to see just myself, right? That's some self-talk that I have in my head. Like, I just want to look at everybody's beautiful faces and not just my own, right? And so that's something that, there's some self-talk there that, why do I want to just keep looking at myself, right? So we want to replace those limiting beliefs and those doubts and with more encouraging self-talk. So this is where, positive affirmations, um, if that's, what jives with you, if you're an EFT tapper, somebody that does, like to ingrain certain self-talk, however you want to do that, but you want to bring attention and bring awareness, because like first rule of Healing Club is awareness, right? And if you don't have awareness of how you are speaking to yourself, well, my friend, we're not even on the board yet. So let's get you on the board to pass go and collect your $200. Cool. Number 5 is making time for yourself. So this is a big one, biggest thing I hear all the time. I don't have time, especially this time of year. We got Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up. The next 6 weeks are probably the busiest and the most stressful for, I don't know what percentage of the population, but a very large percent of the population. And this is why everybody talks about like, weight loss and all this stuff. Like what happens when you get stressed? What happens? People get more agitated, more angry, and weight loss goes up, routines go out the window, we get sicker. All this thing like dysregulation is coming. Like it's coming. It's like winter is coming here in Canada, and it's like for Americans in particular, it's like the holidays are coming. Everybody's like, I love the holidays, but being with family sometimes for Thanksgiving is very stressful, or even Christmas. So you have to make time for yourself. It's if it's literally like 2 minutes a day, but it's having the intention of, I'm just going to sit with me and I'm just going to focus on whatever sensation hierarchy I need to feel. So if I sit in front of this, heater for 5 minutes, it's just for me to feel me. If it's, I'm going to play with this ball, then I'm going to do that. If I'm going to listen to this music, I'm doing that, or I'm going to sit in this bath, whatever you want to do. It's really with the intention of allowing you to be with you. Okay. So a big piece of healing is that what I see, like the deeper you get into the healing journey, is people really struggle with spending time by themselves, right? Because they've spent their whole lives like trying to avoid feeling who they are. And then they're like, oh my God, now I have to like be with me. Oh, that's scary, right? The number one way to torture someone is solitary confinement, because they get in their head and they don't know how to get out. Those people that have survived and done really well in solitary for long periods of time, they're able to evoke memories and get into feelings and sensations that allow them to feel safe, right? So it's just a matter of, like if you have to schedule it in your day or whatever, it doesn't matter, but it's just something that it needs to be said, because it is that important for sure. Number 6, taking part in meaningful activities. So what are your strengths? What are the things that you love? So this is something that I was talking about before we started the call, is that my son today was asking me like, what's the meaning of life for me? Like, what? I don't know. Like, dude, you're 9. Like, what's my purpose in life? I don't know, bud. Like, your brain's not even done developing till you're 25. So how about we just focus on being here and now, right? But he's like, I'm like, let's just start with, what do you love to do? Right? What are your strengths? What are you really good at? And I think a lot of times, we tend to override our strengths, and like we always want to like improve these other things. Like a lot of people are in the self-help world. You're like, oh, there's always more I can learn. There's always more I can do. But let's like take part in the things that really bring you joy, the things that really that make you feel safe, or the things that make you feel connected, right? So for me, it's movement. I love movement and just moving my body in different ways and seeing where it can take me and whatnot. So that's what I like to do here, like by myself, if I'm, in the kitchen, or I'm in my gym, or I'm outside, or whatever, if I'm skipping down the block or whatever, it's that to me is meaningful, because I enjoy how that makes me feel, right? So other people, it might be art, or it might be, creating things, or it might be just sitting in at the beach or whatever. But the idea is you want to focus on the things like that allow you to be you, that you can build on your strengths. Like on Monday, I do like creating things on Canva. Like I think that's fun for me. And so I'm like, that's a strength of mine that I want to hold space for that. So on Monday, I held the space for me to be able to creative. And that was a meaningful thing for me that I end up sharing with all of you. So, that's a bonus, but a lot of times it's for me. And I'm like, ooh, this is a really cool, I think this would be a cool diagram to help people understand their bodies a little bit more. And I love bridging that gap. So that's why I like to do that. So what do you do, daily or weekly, that you take part in. Like, what are meaningful activities? Like, I don't know, like getting a massage or getting acupuncture or going to a chiro or having appointments to like getting a facial or, things like this that can help you, that, that's a meaningful activity. I'm going on a trip, so I'm going to get my mani pedi on, right? So these are meaningful activities that I can enjoy. And like it's not necessarily building in a strength, but it's something that it's a meaningful activity to me because it's going to make me feel good about me, right? And that's really what I'm looking for. Number 7 is connecting with others. So again, it's that co-regulation piece. So what are activities or people, places, things that you can spend time doing in a supportive environment, right? So if you have families that are more on the toxic side, spending time with them in the next week may be a little bit difficult. So we're going to limit the amount of time that we're with them. But then, like if you do have that, some family that is a little bit harsher and you don't feel safe with them, like how are you building out, how can you connect with others to safeguard your emotions and help prepare your emotions for the roller coaster that you're about to go on, right? So we want to create opportunities for you to laugh and engage in deep conversation with people. And that's why I have a mentorship, and that's why I have an inner circle, is simply to allow people to connect to that level. Number 8 is expressing gratitude. So there's a lot of different ways to express gratitude. Like, we're getting to the new year. So I don't know if anybody's ever heard this one before, but at the beginning of the new year, what you do is every week you fill out a piece of paper that you're grateful, things that you're grateful for that week. And then you just, each week you fill up the jar, and at the end of the year, like on New Year's, you open it up and then you're like, these are all the things I was grateful for this year. And it's a nice reminder, right? So that's just, a fun one. I was trying, I get to about week 4 and I'm like, oh, I forgot. So I don't necessarily follow through with that one. It's all good. But one way that I like to express gratitude is I do the gratitude alphabet. So what I do is I start with the letter A and I name something that starts with the letter A that I'm grateful for, like my Apple products. My Apple products allow me to connect with the world and I'm grateful for them. So and then you go to B or whatever. So it's just a fun way to do that. And sometimes I'll do it before bed. I mean, I have done it before bed and I think I've only gotten to the letter M and I'm asleep, but it's a great way to get that frequency and shift that energy in your body, to express your blessings and remind yourself of the things that are going well in your life. Number 9 is think positively. So, in the for I don't know, for a long time since I've been in health and wellness business, it's always been about mind first, then body. But I think there's a transition now, and we're starting to see a shift in the health and wellness in the space, recognizing that body does lead, but thinking positively does matter. It really does matter. Like, so like if you do have those suicidal ideations, if you do have those like harder, heavier thoughts, like that plays a factor in how you live your life, and that plays a factor in how your cells and your body moves. So like finding space for you to think positive things. So if you have to read positive literature, like again, visual. So what are ways that that you can do to help you think more positive? Excuse me. That can help you think more positive and have an optimistic attitude. Again, there's different exercises. I mean, I think there's a whole niche to this, and like I'm not like, that's not something that I'm personally gonna focus on a lot, but your thoughts do matter. And again, like I said before, is bringing awareness to where are your thoughts and going from there. Cool. Any questions on that one, on those? No? All things you've heard, yeah, already. But just nice to be heard again. Some of them may be new, maybe not. Okay, cool. So let's just dive into, let's finish off with the habits to help you keep you grounded. Okay, so what are things that you can start doing on a daily basis? Something that I share are movement snacks, and it's all about, why do I call them movement snacks? Because they're little bite-sized things that you can do daily. So it's not something that I don't focus on, I'm going to do this 3 times a week for 3 times a week for like half an hour. These are literally bite-sized things, because this is how neuroplasticity works, is that the more consistency and routine wins. It's how the adrenals, it's how your brain works. It's how your adrenals respond. So if you're somebody that struggles with cortisol issues or weight issues or struggles with feeling stuck all the time, have endocrine hormone problems, well, we really need to look at your consistency and what are your adrenals doing. Are your activities predictable? Is your day predictable? And if not, then that's something we need to take a look at. So these are things that you can start doing more on the daily to bring awareness to what's going on. So the first one is to move your body every day. Okay. However you choose to move your body is really going to be up to you. And when I say move your body, everybody kind of gets an idea, like what does movement mean to you, right? And so it's going to be different because some people will think yoga is movement and some people will think that Pilates is movement, or some people think CrossFit or running or walking or swimming. So however you think movement is defined for you, that's a great place to start. Okay. So for me, coming from a very regimented black and white background of health and wellness, I like to feel like there's like 50 shades of purple when it comes to movement. So there's not necessarily a right or wrong. It's about exploring how my body goes, right? So if you like to exercise and lift weights in a particular way, then do so. If you like to dance and not necessarily follow the choreography, that's fine. Different personalities will like different things, but it's just a matter of finding what's the type of movement that you like. If you like walking, then walk. If you like breathing, then breathe. All of it is movement. As long as the tissues are moving in some way, shape, or form, that's what we're looking for. Cool. Number two, pretty simple. You've heard this before, is foods. Eat the foods that are good for you, right? Eat the foods, however you want to, define what is good for you. The biggest thing with this, when I talk about food, it's really about what stresses you out when you eat. Like if you're making food and it stresses you out to make that food, then that food's not going to necessarily be as digestible as if you enjoy making the food, right? So, everybody talks about like dairy and gluten and all these, inflammatory foods. Sure, absolutely, they inflame you, but also let's take a look at how stressed are you? How stressed is your bucket? So how is it some people have a gluten intolerance sometimes and then they don't other times? Because a lot of times when you have a gluten intolerance and you do an anti-inflammatory diet, what are you doing in those 30 days? You're changing so many factors of your life. You're actually emptying your stress bucket is really what you're doing. But you're focused on because you have this energy and you have this focus on, I'm going to sleep better. I'm going to drink more water. I'm going to eat certain foods. And I took away the options. So I know that this is the routine. I know this is the plan and I got it. And that's why people respond so well. And then that's where like, well, I can eat gluten after. I'm like, yes, because you're able to navigate your stress bucket much better. And you had the things in place to help you then navigate the world a little bit better. So finding the food. So for instance, like I used to get a food intolerances test all the time when I was living with my parents, because my dad, that's part of what he did, is a biological medicine doctor. And the thing too, what I realized is that every time I did an inflammatory test, I realized like I had like common foods like apples and bananas and oranges. It's pretty much like at one point I think I had like, I don't know, I was at least 60% of the foods on there I was inflamed to. So basically what that meant is my body was super stressed and I couldn't eat very much because I was so stressed. So when you tell somebody to eat a salad, well, a salad to me, half the things were inflammatory. So you think that it's good, but it's just something that you need to recognize and understand. Like what I want you to pay attention to when you're eating is how stressed are you when you're eating? Okay. This is really important. So when you're grounding, like how stressed are you? Are you eating on the run? Are you eating prepackaged foods? And like, does this food actually have life to it? Does it have a frequency? And does that frequency, how is that going to impact with me? Right? So we want to take a look at those things. So when I say eat foods that are good for you, eat things that are aligning with the frequency that matches where you're at. Right? And that's really what we're after there. Number 3 is your posture. So posture is a fun one that I talk about in my fascial course. But what I mean by that is how do you carry yourself in space? So are you paying attention to how to help you grounded? Because it's a big difference when you're like, if you're rounding your shoulders and you're sitting in a rounded shoulder position, or even if you walk in that rounded shoulder, or if you stand and your hips are tilted backwards, what type of posture do you have? And then you talk like, if you just paid attention, what's your posture like when you're with someone you love versus when you're with somebody that, like is a stranger? Is it the same? Have you ever noticed? Maybe not. Right? So these are things that we want to pay attention to. And so because that changes the frequency in which energy can help travel up. So for me, when I talk about grounding, it's very much like it starts from the ground. Are you connected to the ground? But posture will start from the ground up. Are your feet planted on the floor? Can you feel your foot tripod? Can you feel do you feel that? And are your shoulders back? Are you, slightly, hit? Is there energy being trapped in you? And so there's a whole movement um uh movement assessment that I do to help know, is the energy traveling through you? But the key is we want to bring awareness to what is your posture telling you about you. Okay. Number 4 is sleep. So again, sleep hygiene is something that is important to address, and you need to give your body some time to recover. So if you're somebody that's completely stressed out and has a very full stress bucket, well, you might not be sleeping as well, right? So that's why some people are going to be like, hey, so if you're stressed, like we know, like magnesium helps combat your stress levels. So magnesium is probably something that you need to consume. And then the question becomes, which type of magnesium? Because there's so many different types, right? And so there's this whole, thing behind, like, how are you managing your stress? So if you're not sleeping well, we need to take a look at your stress bucket. Okay. So we all know that the average amount of sleep adults should be getting is between 7 and 8 hours. Kids are like 10 to 12 hours, and babies it's like even more. But a lot of us don't necessarily get that. Or if you have a period of time, like when you have babies, you're not going to sleep. So that's why it takes a long time to recover. But I really want you to focus on, okay, if I'm not sleeping well, what I want you to do is take time out. I want you to assess your threat bucket. What is your threat bucket, or your stress bucket, whatever, place you're coming from? What is impacting that? So that it's going to affect how you sleep. Okay. Number 5, be in nature. Why? Because the research proves that it changes our molecules, it changes our frequency when you spend time in nature. So, here in Canada, I mean, today is actually a really nice day, but the winter is coming, snow is coming and whatnot. But the idea is that you can still be outside, and exposing your eyes to sun, to light. And that's really the key. And then when you're around trees, it's a whole thing, like the Japanese forest bathing. There's something that happens to your cells and your molecules and your energy frequency when you are in nature. And so we want to give you the opportunity to be out there, to be able to shift it. And that's what they've said. I think the last article that I read, it was about 2 to 2.5 hours a week is what you need to spend in nature to be able to get the grounding energy to help shift your molecules. So if you can't be out there, so if you're out for 1 2.5 hour session a week, that's great. Or you can break it up and it's the same idea as like with sauna time. They now say like saunas are fantastic for longevity. They prevent so many health issues. And I believe they said it's like 4 times a week for 20 minutes. So, depends on how you want to get your time. The same thing with like cold baths. It's like 11 minutes a week. So again, when we look at the collective, it's like your calories, it's like a collective. So however you want to get that, it's really up to you. And then the last one, number 6, is how to keep you grounded, is avoid things that stress you out. It's at the end of the day. What are the things that are filling your bucket? What are the things that are pissing you off on a day-to-day basis, right? Is it those sounds? Like I always joke about this, but it's the reality. Like this is the reality, is that Mariah Carey's pitch. And then there was funny because they did a commercial on how high she gets and she breaks glass and the whole bit. And I'm like, my body really does not like that sound. It really, really doesn't. And so when I do it, my whole body contracts, and I'm so aware of it. I'm so acutely aware of it. So I'm like, I really need to be, like, it's not like I can avoid, especially this time of year, avoid listening to it. But if I do hear it, it's like, oh, there it is. But it's like I can stay calm and I can always change the channel or whatnot, right? But the idea is, you want to, like if coffee and alcohol is something that you rely on and that stresses you out, a lot of people use those things because they're stressed out. So you want to bring awareness to, what are the things that you're using that may not be healthy, you may not be the healthiest thing for you. So, if you're choosing alcohol, especially this, like with Thanksgiving, a lot more alcohol consumption goes up, especially at Christmas. It's just, Yeah, it's just the reality, right? And so that's what people do to just, this is how I'm going to combat my stress. So, what are things that you can do to help you combat your stress? And the first thing is bring awareness to, like, these are things that are irritating me, and these don't help me stay grounded, and these keep me in a place that I don't feel safe. So, we want to bring more awareness to that. Cool? Awesome. That's all I got. So that is my presentation for today. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope there's something, some nugget in there that made you think that, yeah, I can try that, or just bring awareness to it. So thank you so much. And we'll see you next time.